Senior Report thanks Edmund Besch of Bristol Burgess Insurance Agency, 65 East Main Street, Westfield, for his generous grant to provide news to seniors. Funding is provided by a grant from New York State Senator Catherine M. Young, representing Western New York's 57th District with a local office in Olean. Funding for Senior Report is provided in part by a grant from Andrew Goodell, Assemblyman for the 150th District of the New York State Assembly. Senior Report with Reed Powers thanks Westfield's Schultz Chevy for a generous grant to inform seniors of important news. Over 50 years of service to Westfield by Chevrolet, Schultz Chevy across from the school. The physicians of Jamestown Primary Care are happy to sponsor the Senior Report. From the Access Channel 5 television studio in Mayville, it's Senior Report with Reed Powers. Senior Report is broadcast live throughout northern Chautauqua County on Saturday morning from 9 to 10 a.m. each week. Call in and share a thought, make a comment, ask a question, or simply wish someone a happy birthday on Chautauqua County's only live call-in senior program. Since 1995, Reed has been bringing viewers hundreds of interesting guests, informing the community on a variety of subjects. Here's the host of the show, Reed Powers.
And good morning. What a beautiful day in Chautauqua County. Sun is just beaming down, 80-degree temperatures. Ah, yes, life is sweet in this God-blessed county. You know, when the French came through, it's in they had their anecdotes about the area where they were. They said, "This is truly the Garden of Eden," and I believe them. Okay, flowers all over, and the grapes. Oh, you know, some of the farmers are actually knocking grapes off. There are too many grapes. There's just such huge quantities of grapes. And you know, if you have so many grapes, you don't get the higher sugar content you need. So some smart farmers just go right down and they send their pickers down the rows and they knock off some of the grapes, and they get a sweeter grape. We have all kinds of other things going on around here. All the farm, all those beautiful little farm stands, and of course you have every village in the county has a farm produce out. They have their farmers markets all over the place, and it's just fantastic. What a place to live. Your own gardens are growing like crazy too. Although I've never seen such big tomatoes. Unbelievable tomatoes this year. They're huge. All right, now guys, we have a good guest here, a great guest. Many of you may know him as the mayor of Dunkirk. He was the mayor for a long time. His name is Greg Krauza, and he now represents the Fredonia place, which is a retirement community for people at various stages of Alzheimer's or whatever, be able to care for themselves. They have just regular apartments there, right down to where you get full-time care and community services. He's a member of he's a director and a member of the Chautauqua County Chamber of Commerce. He's quite active as a community founder and a service person. He's just terrific all over, and he's going to be here to talk about generally about places where you can live your final years, and he's going to be talking about some of the other things that come into notice and anything he wants. We may be talking about the Buffalo Bills game last night. Who knows? All right. On the national level, the news is no news. Very little happening. There's almost an impasse in the United States Congress. It's just getting to the point where nothing is really being done. It's meaningful. A few perfunctory items, such as bill passage for bills they have to pay, and they did give them a 1-year sort of a pause in the increase in payments for the kids who have to now pay for their college education because all the land grants are out of business now, and it's reached a point where only the rich and powerful apparently can go to college. All the other kids borrow thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars to get through college, and they're wage slaves for the rest of their lives trying to pay off their loans. It's getting to be a really bad problem, and of course the Congress, in their goodness, doubled the interest rate on these loans, which is outrageous. Bad enough to have to pay them, not to mention huge interest rates. Well, they did back that off a little bit for a year. Good luck. Nothing else happening there that I can see. Congress is just kind of limping along, doing very little, and they're all going home anyway for their summer break. So nothing will happen. I guess it's time to change the Congress. I keep getting emails. Put them all out. Throw them all out. Get new people. Of course, the Congress has refused to grant a true cost of living for your Social Security. So the Social Security now, you used to buy for $1, you could almost fill a grocery basket. Now you get 50 cents or less. You get, they're saying now 46 cents now on your dollar you used to get just 10 years ago. Not back in time of history. 10 years ago, you got twice as much for your dollar, Social Security dollars you're getting now. And that's because Congress has not been giving you a fair COLA. They're saying, oh, there's no inflation, or no, very minimal, only 1%, or in the meantime we're getting 3-5% inflations, and at this point you're getting less and less for your dollar, and Congress is going to cut your health care. They've already reduced, I think the long-term health care is getting 10% less this year. Is that right? Or 10 or 20% less they're trying to give you. And they're cutting back on a lot of other things. Most of, Medicaid, half of it is seniors. And almost all of Medicare is seniors. They're cutting back sharply on all of them. So Congress, God bless you. Maybe you will be seniors someday and in need, but unfortunately most of the congressmen are all, if not billionaires, multi-millionaires. So they don't worry about the things that you and I have to worry about. They don't even know about them. Social Security, they have never even heard of it. They have their own little plan, which is 10 times better than Social Security, I might add. Yeah, seniors, shortly, with the decrease in your dollar, thanks to Congress, which will not give you a fair COLA and bring your Social Security back up to double what it is now, you'll be eating this stuff. This is cat food. Very good. It's nutritious, and it's half the price of regular tuna. You can just get the cat tuna. And you can live in your children's basement after you've had to sell your house and lost all your money. The reverse mortgage racket. We'll have another program on that. Hello, Fred Thompson, you old shyster. Okay, now, we have other things going on locally. They told us we may have a huge tax increase again, but we're not sure exactly. They keep finding money. They lost $10 million. They found it, which helped out this year on the county level. We had Fred Krauza got on. He said, yeah, there could be a 20% tax increase, which at this point, the county is so desperately over. We're the highest tax county in the United States. Yeah, Forbes tells you that. The highest tax, not in New York, not in Upper New York, in the United States. And it's getting worse. And now they want a 20% increase. Everybody's just going to disappear. I don't know where they'll go, but they're going to disappear. All right, enough said. Go to the farmers markets anyway. They have these wonderful farmer markets every Monday or every Saturday morning usually, or Sunday morning, and usually it's Saturday. And go buy some fresh corn. Corn at least is reasonable, $4 for a dozen if you look carefully. Great corn this year too. Boy, it's good. I like the little corn, the smaller niblets. I don't like the big, what we call cow corn. Cow corn. And remember, do not cook the corn. You just heat it up good. Put it in the boiling water, and when it comes back to a boil, give it a minute or two, and then take it right out. People that cook the corn, they don't realize what they're doing is transferring the sugar to starch. It changes to starch when you boil it. So you get this kind of mushy, gunky corn, and you wonder why it doesn't taste all poppy and crunchy and good the way it did one time. do not cook it. Just heat it good. That's what you do. My grandfather used to say, find out where the farmer grows his corn, give him some money, go right down, put a pot on in your kitchen. Run down, grab the corn, bring it home, shucking it with one hand while you're driving. And when you get home, drop it in the pot immediately. Nothing like fresh corn. And then the corn you get in the supermarket is 3 or 4 days old sometimes. Unbelievable. Ain't the same as picking it right off the crop, I'll tell you. Or right from the farmer who just picked it that morning. Enough said. Lots of things going on here. I got a public service announcement for you, and then we'll have Doc on. He's going to talk. He's back again. Here's your public service announcement coming on right now, just for you.
Is the color that your skin was meant to be no longer beautiful? Every year, millions of young women try to change the skin they were born with and say they die for darker skin. Sadly, some actually do. Melanoma is the second most common cancer in teens and young adults, and 1 person dies from melanoma every hour. Change your thinking, not your skin. Stop tanning. Learn more at spotskincancer.org. A message from the American Academy of Dermatology.
Okay, there you go. Here he is. He shoots from the hip. This is John. All right, what's wrong with this thing?
I don't know.
It says it's ready. All right. John
Every
Hamill.
year,
He's
millions
on.
of young women.
There's my introduction music.
Yeah. Oh, this is weird.
This is weird. All right. Well, I'm here anyways. Good morning, Greg. Good morning, Reed. Good morning, everybody out there. Well, I got a few things I first mentioned. The Children's Safety Village is still looking for folks that are interested in being part of this year's Town of Terror. They're going to have a contest where you can have your club organization design and decorate a building. Reed's still trying to get my my sound effect here.
Yeah, it doesn't work.
Fire it.
Fire it.
And the prize money this year is $1,000 to the top group. Now you might say, well, I don't want to do that, but you may have a Boy Scout, Girl Scout, church group, youth group that might be interested, a club organization. If you're interested, call the Safety Village at 499-8138. They're over in Asheville. Talk to Terry Kinberg. So there's that. Okay, now, as you know, we've been talking about the county home and the potential sale of that. And so the guys and I have been talking about this, and although many of us may or may not be interested in actually physically attending the meeting this Wednesday night, you might be able to access it through your computer. Now I'm going to go through this kind of slow because the guys gave me the information here. If you have a computer at home and your browser, your search engine is Explorer, most of us have that, you go to, ready, Jeff? www.county.chautauqua.newyork.us. We're going to leave that up for a little bit while I'm talking here. And what you need to do is you go to this, and this is the Chautauqua County Government homepage. And on the left side, you're going to find a link called County Legislature. You click on this, okay? This then brings you to a page that has a fellow you might know, Frankel? That doesn't sound right. Frankel? Should be on the left, should be on the page on the right side, and there's a list called Helpful Links. Now, if you go all the way to the bottom, oh, there it is. Is his name Frank?
Jay Gould.
Jay Gould. Oh, you know what? I think his name is Frank J. Gould. Yeah.
That's it, right.
Yeah, I knew there was something wasn't right. Well, anyways, that's great. I want the magic of TV. Anyways, if you go to the bottom, from the third from the bottom, I won't go over the other links because there's other things you can go exploring. Thank you, Chris. I think he's doing this. If you go to the third from the bottom, it's called Live Stream to Internet. And if you click on that, now nothing's going to be there right now. You're just going to get their logo, as you can see. But the guys tell me there's a live link, and if you want to watch it Wednesday night, you can actually see what's going on and hear and watch your legislator from your area participate in the discussion as they look at the potential sale of the county home. So there you have it. Go to that website, www.co.chautauqua.newyork.us. It goes on forever. But anyways, thanks, Jeff. We're here to provide you information, and that's what we're doing right now. Okay, so with that being said, the county home has been part of the this year's administration, and as we all know, Greg Edwards, fine guy, I've known for years, is moving on to the Gebby Foundation, and congratulations, Greg, on your new appointment. I think being a county executive kind of chews you up and spits you out, and I think
I agree.
I think it's time for a little breather and do some fun stuff. Maybe I don't know. Maybe county executive is fun. I don't know. Anyways, without mentioning any of the candidates' names necessarily in any particular order, I think this is an opportunity. Every 8 years, it seems like we elect somebody new, and that brings in either more of the same or a new room, as they would say, a new clean sweep. I think if you look back at the last couple of administrations, the styles and the purpose that they had in mind were a little bit different. And I'm not here to be an expert on county government, but what I want us all to think about during the next couple of months as we're barraged with the political campaigns, brochures, knocks at the door, and phone calls that will be starting here any time now. That what is the kind of government that we want? You know, you hear Reed every week talk about that we're highly taxed in the as a county, especially in our position in the United States. And what's the way we're going to get away from that? How are we going to get out of being the highly taxed? Is it going to be that we're going to cut services? Or are we going to increase services? Are we going to work on promoting this or cutting that? And there's different philosophies that I've studied over the years. You can tighten your belt to the point where you have nothing left and nobody wants to come here, or you can bring so many services that it's so expensive to do business you can't afford to come here. So I think there's a balance point that we've got to look at as we're watching our candidates, because they're going to be the movers and shakers. They're going to bring in their people. They're going to appoint their folks in key positions that we don't always see on a day-to-day basis that are going to be helping make decisions for our county. So let's think about what the future Chautauqua County is going to be. Are we going to be expanding? Are we going to be shrinking? Are we going to be focused on getting rid of certain programs that are expensive and so forth? But I would propose that we should at least look at how far have we cut so far, because I believe that we're cutting pretty deep, and can we afford to be cut too much more, because that may not be the way to go. Back to you, Reed.
Thank you, John. Well said. We have an enormous problem in Chautauqua County, and we must address it one way or another. I'm not positive that throwing the seniors under the bus is the right way. The Congress is doing enough of that right now. The county home has been here for a century, and it has at one time it was over in DeWittville, as a matter of fact. It was called the county farm, or some people called it the poor farm, for people that were just totally indigent, had no money at all. And they used to raise their crops over there, and food, a lot of it. And now we have the current county home, and it looks like they're going to want, certain people want to sell it, other people don't. And it failed to sell the last time, and I'm kind of hoping they'll remember seniors. Admittedly, it costs the county some dough, but not very much when you look at the long-term picture. And there are ways around it. What they really need to do is set up assisted living nearby, one way or another, interchange it, work it out. I'm sure they could legally do it. They just keep telling us they can't. We got to sell the home, which is nonsense. The home costs very little, relatively speaking, and it serves the most indigent and the poorest people in our county, who most of them are on welfare, quote. They're totally broke, busted, and they're getting Medicaid. And 80% of the folks over at the county home are on Medicaid. You can't get into Medicaid in a standard long-term care nursing home, or it's very hard to at any rate, because they have very few beds. The only way you get in is when somebody croaks. God help us. Okay, enough said. Let's hope that the county prevails again on the county home, and they keep it on for another lifetime, because I will need it shortly myself. Ed Krauza sitting here, he says, when's that guy going to stop jabbering on about the county home?
Love this happen.
Yeah, okay, Ed Greg is the one-time mayor of Dunkirk. He is, in terms of the community development over at the Fredonia Place, which is a senior facility, and he's quite active in our community in many ways. I remember on the CC Chamber of Commerce, as a matter of fact. What do you do for the Chamber of Commerce?
I'm the Director of Member Development, do a lot of community work in their health insurance program.
Okay, well, a little background here. Tell me, where'd you come from?
I'm a Dunkirk guy. I mean, I was born in Erie. My parents are from Erie, but we moved here. Actually, my dad was a long-time Welch employee. So we moved here, gosh, when I was 3 years old, and grew up in Dunkirk in northern Chautauqua County all my life.
Okay, so you really aren't from Chautauqua County.
Right.
I saw an obit.
And Obama's not from the United States, right?
Right. I saw an obit not too long ago about somebody who lived in Westfield for like 60-some years. Said, although 60 years in Westfield, actually came from Erie. You know?
Right.
Okay, and so you were born and raised here in Chautauqua County for the most part. And tell me, where'd you go to school? Did you ever go on past high school?
Oh yeah, I got my bachelor's and my master's at Buffalo State, and then came back and got a certificate at Fredonia State.
Okay, what certificate?
Certificate of Administrative Study. It's the next step I was a school teacher, graduated with a secondary education social studies degree.
Yeah, me
got
too.
my master's, and then got a certificate of administrative study, and then went into the private sector.
Yeah, well, I was a school teacher for a while too, and it was a very valuable experience actually teaching young people. You teach yourself as much as you teach them, I might add. Now, so at this point, you're quite active in the community. You did run for mayor and won. How long were you mayor?
I was mayor for 2 years.
2
I was
years.
a councilman before that, and then mayor for 2 years.
Yeah, that's quite a term. 2 years is enough.
Oh, it was plenty.
Like county executive, I think Greg. Greg's a good guy too. His daddy was very involved in the county too. His daddy was a supervisor, a town supervisor over in Panama at one point. And I tell you, I don't know. They tell me politics is getting rough. They're having trouble finding people who want to run for office today.
Well, it is. It's full combat in there sometimes,
Yeah.
and so we need to the word politician, centuries ago was the most highly respected position you could have, and now we tend to lump it into almost a dirty word. Now, I think we need to show some courtesy to our elected officials that that they put themselves on the line, and as long as they're there for the right reasons, it's a difficult job. You're not getting paid enough. We owe them a lot of respect.
Yeah, I quite agree. And of course, there's some skunks in there which really make the reputation bad for the other politicians who steal. Like, let's see, I guess our congressman recent, I think I should not mention names. We all know who they are. We've had a lot of problems here and there. But now the politics of senior care, that's a whole trip itself. The fact that, first of all, it's extremely expensive. I believe the Fredonia place starts around, by the time we get through for the Mickey Mouse stuff, about $4,000 a year. Isn't that right? Or 40,000 a year, something like that, right?
That's about right. Yes.
Which is pretty high. I mean, it's hard for anybody to handle that. Now, some of the other ones, though, are even more. I see several of them are 60,000 a year. I mean, that's real money.
Well, and you've got to start comparing it to what you're getting for that. I mean, when we say that number, it sounds very, it's a scary number, it's a big number. But if you start to say, well, let me see, what would it cost me if I lived in my home? Because we're talking about, everything from maintenance to, if you have a mortgage or taxes, if you have, or rent. So you've got that, you've got all your meals, all your care, when you start to do the comparison, it's in many cases much less expensive than trying to maintain your home or apartment and then live there and take care of yourself and feed yourself and do all those, chores of daily living.
Okay, so it does actually, it's not a big bargain, but you might say it's kind of comparable.
Absolutely.
Fairly comparable to doing it all on yourself, especially in terms of the care.
Right. When you start to throw in quality of life, one of the big things we talk about at Fredonia Place is that it's a community, and as you get to be the age where you're looking at assisted living, in many times, and this is a repeated story, many of your friends have either moved or passed away, or you're just not quite as mobile as you used to be. So you've become somewhat reclusive, and taking care of yourself is difficult, so you may have to bring in home health care aides, or it's just tough on your bones to be able to get in and out of the house, to get the grocery shopping done, to prepare meals, things like that. So all of a sudden, not only do you have, from an economic standpoint, a fairly even trade at least, but you also have a higher quality of life. You've got a social life now, you've got activities, you've got things being planned, and you've got somebody there when you need them, whether it's to prepare your meals, help with your laundry, make sure you get to the doctor, all of those things. Yeah.
Take your medicine.
Yeah.
Dementia really plays a big part in this. Forgetting.
As our population ages,
Yeah.
we're going to see more and more of that. We've gone out of our way to provide great health care and come up with innovation, and so the average lifespan is getting longer and longer. Unfortunately, some parts of the body aren't keeping up with the other parts of the body.
Yeah, the dementia is a major problem in this country today. So-called, they lump together these different things. They're not quite sure exactly what the shades of difference are, but they call it Alzheimer's. And Alzheimer's is, among other things, you can be sure the Alzheimer's patient suffers dementia, cannot remember. Forgets, and eventually he forgets everything, including their own name, as it progresses.
Alzheimer's is a diagnosed condition and is progressive. Dementia can come about from, I always talk about the hip bone's connected to the head bone, and it could be something, a fall or a injury or a surgery or something like that occurs that throws everything a little bit off in the system, and that's where dementia many times can start or at least manifest once you've had that kind of an incident.
Yeah, martinis causes dementia, I've noticed.
Well, that doesn't hurt, That's short term though, usually. The cloud clears and it comes back.
Well, with Greg Krauza, he's the community development person over at, I'm confused, I guess. Are you community?
Member director, are you talking about my Fredonia place?
Fredonia place.
Yeah, I'm the community builder. We like to call it, because we're doing so much more into the community. Whether it's, obviously we provide a service. We have both the assisted living and the memory care unit. So we provide progressive care depending on the need. But we also, it's a goal of ours to be an integral part of the community. We sponsor a lot of things, and we participate in things like the Alzheimer's Walk that's coming up. I'd love to do a quick little promo on that. We've got Assisted Living Week coming up. We'll talk about that. It'll highlight all of the wonderful facilities we have here in Chautauqua County.
This is not an infomercial, ladies and gentlemen. We're talking about, generally speaking, nursing homes. And
Assisted Living Week is like I said, I think all of our homes in Chautauqua County will celebrate it in some way, shape, or form. And that's good. It brings out, education. There's a lot of confusion. The difference between the care, say at the county home, which we spoke about, or at an absolute care, or at a Fredonia place, just to name a few, and there's plenty of great facilities, but there's, it becomes very confusing because some facilities offer multiple levels of care. Some are strictly skilled facilities. Some are strictly assisted living, which is essentially apartment with your daily essentials being taken care of, and assistance where you need it. You're totally independent if you want to be, but they'll give assistance where needed.
You're Greta Garbo, you say, I want to be alone, they'll leave you alone.
Right. Right.
There are differences. One question I have for you, which might be a hard one, you always get some hardball questions. Grandma goes there to Fredonia Place and many other such similar places.
Right.
At $40,000, the clip runs out of money. Then what happens? You roll her out in the front lawn so they get lost?
Yeah, that's usually, sometimes we'll put a bow on it and, hope that somebody drives by with a free sign. No, of course not. We, as in a private pay facility, it is just that. It's a private pay facility. So if we see, one of the things that we'll do is meet with the family and talk about, finances and long-term and what the needs are. And if we see that there's going to be a financial concern, we'll start looking for an appropriate facility. Frankly, we usually don't. We usually see that the move isn't predicated by money. It's more predicated by a higher level of care. And obviously that then you start looking at facilities that can provide that level of care.
Okay, some facilities, many of them, they they have a means and a program for staging them off into Medicaid, which will cover
Correct.
their costs for life, hopefully, after their bones are picked.
Well, it is, yeah. That's one of the things we talk about at Fredonia Place, and I know other facilities have it. Is the aid and attendance, which is any of our wartime veterans, which you don't have to be in the war. You just have to have served during that time, and our current senior population. There's a significant amount, we lived through 2 world wars in that, Vietnam, the front end of Vietnam is now becoming seniors, Korea.
Yeah.
So there were very few windows. If you served, and by the way, a lot of our seniors served in the military. I mean, it was much more prevalent percentage-wise of the population than it is today.
And well, in the National Guard, I might add, a lot of people were in that, which counts, I believe.
Right. So now qualifying time and all those kind of things. But yes, so now you're qualified for aid and attendance, and there's a significant support. The nice thing about the aid and attendance from the VA is that you don't need to have that 5-year look back that Medicaid has. The minute you spend down to the level that they need you at, you're eligible for your aid and attendance.
Tell me about this 5-year look back you mentioned. A lot of people don't know what that is.
With Medicaid, if you've got to have essentially no means to pay for, or very limited means to pay for yourself for your care. And so if I'm 85 and I recognize that I'm going to need long-term care soon, so I sell my home or give my money to my children or do any of those kind of things, there's a 5-year look back. So it's not like if I'm 85 and I do all that, and then at 88 I need to start using a Medicaid facility, they're going to look back, trace that money back, and be able to see where it went, who it went for, and they're going to go after it.
They'll say you gave it away to avoid the...
Correct.
Okay, and
the VA doesn't do that.
They'll go grab it.
Yeah, the VA doesn't do that. The minute you hit the spend down, you become eligible for aid and attendance.
Okay, here we go. We've got a phone call. Good morning, caller. Thank you for waiting.
Well, good morning. I got a couple of questions for your guest, if I may.
Sure.
2-part. With the baby boomer generation slowly sneaking up on retirement, and it's going to be the largest generation ever to be in nursing homes. The first question I have is, are there enough facilities in Chautauqua County to take care of all these people in the near future? And the second part is, with what we call Obamacare, what will that do to affect any changes in long-term care? I'll hang up and I'll listen to your answer. Thank you.
Thank you, caller.
Thank you. The first is I think the simple answer is no. If we project out how many beds we currently have and where the population is going, it's clear that we do not have enough beds in Chautauqua County. Now, I'm assuming that capitalism will kick in. Somebody's going to figure it out. They're going to build the beds in the appropriate facilities, and whether that's for assisted living, whether that's for skilled nursing, or whether that's for memory care, that's where like I said, I think the private sector is going to be able to see that need and be able to build accordingly. So, no, there's not enough beds right now, but I do believe that, again, like anything, we're at about 90% capacity, and I know most of our of the homes throughout the county have real good capacity numbers. But believe me, if we get to 100% and all the facilities are at 100%, somebody's going to be building new beds, because that's just good business. The ACA.
What's the ACA?
The Affordable Care Act.
Okay.
Obamacare is our caller. Mm-hmm. The Affordable Care Act will have some effects, but really, because Medicaid is, I guess, stay tuned on how it's going to affect the care for seniors. It shouldn't affect. I mean, we should see the same levels of funding and commitment to health care for seniors that we're going to see for health care for everyone. The real question, though, is where the cost of health care is going to go and the long-term cost of health care. I think that one of the things that I've seen the industry that's going to take advantage is the long-term care insurance industry. And I know there's within our county, there's some folks that offer long-term care insurance and
Very high.
It's
very costly.
It's
some people can't even afford it once you hit your 70s and 80s.
Right. I guess, yeah. I think it's going to be something where, you know, in your 40s and 50s, you're going to start looking at it, because right now the current generation never had to care the way that they do now, because again, average age is longer.
And families took care of each other.
Right. There was a different family environment. People spread out much more now. So I think that the current generation, as they see their parents, they see the cost of the need, and they see how difficult it is. I know we talk about caregiver burnout. You know how difficult that is. Those type of things are going to trigger in our generation, the next coming up, to say, maybe I better look at this at younger, when I can get it at an affordable rate, because in the long run it's going to pay off.
There you go. Long-term care insurance, you have to take it when you're starting at 18.
Well,
just about.
if you get it when you're in your 30s, let's say, you take a look at it and you start paying, you can get a heck of a rate, and there is some comfort in knowing that's going to happen. You know, that you're going to be cared for, and you're not going to be a burden on your family or anyone else economically when you hit that point.
Yeah, another form of care is Harry Carey.
Well, Soylent Green, right? There's a few movies made that way, but I don't know if I'm ready to.
Well, there's the old iceberg in Alaska, you know.
Right.
We are just speaking in jest, believe me. It's a major problem. Long-term care for senior citizens who are unable to care for themselves and who are indigent, no money, is getting to be quite a problem. Quite a problem. Even in this county, as you say, that you're running pretty high right now for the number of beds you have, and Medicaid beds are basically running out.
Medicaid beds are even, we're a private pay facility, and there's many private pay facilities out there, and there's some combined facilities. Private pay beds are again, the industry is going to keep up, and they're going to be there. It is a real problem with the Medicaid beds, and that is an issue that that's something our government should be in the business of, is making sure that there's enough funding to take care of our seniors as they age.
Yeah, our government took that one in hand. The New York State legislature and Senate some 35 years ago, I believe it was, or 40 years ago, and they simply announced, we do have a Medicaid problem. We're spending too much on long-term care for Medicaid, so what we're going to do is limit the number of beds you can have that are Medicaid beds. I think that limit still is in service right now. You can't build new beds for Medicaid in New York State.
Without going through a lot of hoops and getting approval, yes.
It's virtually impossible, because they don't want to pay Medicaid anymore. And Medicaid is a state thing, half of it. Well, a quarter of it's paid. New York State is one of the 2 states that actually charges their counties for Medicaid. We pay half the state's Medicaid bill in this county, believe it or not, which is another reason we are the overtaxed county of the world, I think.
Yeah, that's a difficult, you talk about taxation without representation, and while we've got 2 very fine representatives from our county that represent us in New York, or in Albany, unfortunately, I think they're tilting windmills many times, because they are, from a smaller population area, and we know that Albany and East runs the show up there, and they've got a whole different attitude about how to care for folks and how to keep things, efficient.
Right. One example of that was recently midnight passed. Well, it was later in the morning they voted, but the SAFE Act. The laughable SAFE Act, which even the vice president says wouldn't make the slightest difference anyway.
Yeah, I always hate to see, again, and I'm kind of the Second Amendment, I guess we'd have to, the Second Amendment was put there
with good reason.
Frankly, Jefferson's letters show that they wanted to have revolution. They wanted to. A good revolution is healthy for a country, was what he was saying. Now, unless we start allowing the Second Amendment to, I need to have drones and bazookas or something.
Yeah, I think everybody should be allowed to have a bazooka. For sure.
So that the SAFE Act. The Second Amendment, the whole thing, it's all such a jumble right now. But yeah, I hate to see legislation passed that has no real chance of doing what it's supposed to do.
And secondly, which further curbs the constitutional rights of our country. the right to bear arms. They've reduced it to pea shooters and little guns that don't have any shells in them anymore. It's becoming, and of course this Cuomo's little act that he slipped through in the middle of the night outrages everybody. And upstate and most of New York, you see repeal the SAFE Act. Well, they should repeal Cuomo, among other things, and anybody who voted for it. You know, both our legislatures up here did not vote for it.
Oh, I'm sure they didn't.
Well,
I mean, yeah,
no, they voted against it, and incidentally,
both.
Yeah.
They're both.
Andy and Kathy both voted against it.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact,
certainly expect that.
there's very little chance they'll repeal it, though, because the downstate, as you point out, really rules the show, the roost down there. And they like the idea. In the meantime, you know how many people, according to Andy, were killed in New York City with long arms? This is a Long Arm Act. Last year?
Right. I can't imagine.
Zero.
Not very many. Right.
Zero. No one was
Right.
killed with long arm in New York.
Same with assault weapons. I mean, we'll have horrific events throughout the country where an assault weapon is used, but it really is more of a public issue than it is a real issue, because very, very few crimes are committed with assault weapons. Very few murders are with assault weapons. I mean, it just doesn't happen. But it sure looks good when an elected official can jump up and down and pass something to take away the assault weapons.
Yeah, right, which is utter bunkum. And I'm afraid, unfortunately, they'll declare any semi-automatic gun, long arm or short arm. All pistols are semi-automatic now, just about. They'll declare them all assault weapons. Then they'll basically outlaw everything but 22s.
Right.
Caller, good morning. Thank you for waiting.
Good morning.
What's
morning. Up? I have a question for your guest about the proposed sale of the county home, which looks like they're gonna get.
Yeah, with his last gasp, it looks like Greg is going to run it through.
Well, it appears that that's really against the majority of the wishes of the citizens of Chautauqua County.
Absolutely.
However, that's not what this is about.
Well, especially the seniors, I might add, while we're on it, because they all vote.
Exactly. Well, plus they're the ones that will. I mean, when you're 18, you're probably not thinking about what's going to happen when you're 70 or so.
Unless you have a grandmother or a father or a mother.
You're pretty invincible at 18, but you're right,
Yeah.
if you have that person.
Yeah.
My kids
All
have
politics are local.
seen grandma, and they know. Okay, you're on.
Okay. Now I've forgotten my question.
Another senior citizen. We keep getting these seniors that call in and
I
forget
don't
the
know.
question.
Geez, I wonder why seniors would call in the senior report.
She's going to get it. She's going to get it.
Yeah. It's about the county home.
Yeah.
Will you have any input into what happens and so forth if and when the sale goes through?
They roll all the seniors out on the front lawn and say, nice knowing you.
Well,
Yeah, I guess it's funny. I've got
yet.
several different. I've looked at this the county home issue from several different perspectives. Certainly, as a North County resident, I know we have a very different opinion. I travel, through my position with the Chamber of Commerce. I travel throughout the county, and it's incredibly divergent as a topic because it's truly a North County facility. I mean, the population is almost all North County, and in the facility, all the residents, and all the jobs and the workers are North County. So again, I'm sure there's South County issues as well. But when I travel, you hear the South County thinks we should sell it, and the North County thinks we should keep it, and both have various reasons. And again,
the same reverse on the airport.
Correct.
The airport, the Jamestown airport, they should
Exactly.
sell it.
That's exactly.
I was about ready to say.
Again,
this works both ways. There's things in the South County that perhaps the North County isn't real happy about either.
Right. Oh no, you're absolutely right. I think that a couple of the issues, I know from a philosophical approach, should we be in the business of providing a service that a private entity would provide, and that goes, I guess, whether it's garbage or whether. I mean, we know we've got to plow the streets and pave the streets because nobody else is going to do that. No private entity. We know we've got to police our communities. we're not going to bring in private security guards. So we need, whether it's through the state or through the sheriffs or through local, we need to police our communities. So those are essential services that have to be provided.
I would agree with that 100%, except for one thing. I don't know many people, and as I understand it, a month in a nursing home now is costing you at least a private-owned nursing home is costing at least $5,000 a month. Show me a person that has, at least, I said.
$100,000 a year. That's more.
Well,
Show me a person that has that kind of money.
There are, it's a great point, but, and I could tell you, you're a little high on, at least in my experience with our facility, that's the only one I can speak with at Fredonia Place. It's closer to somewhere between $3,500 and $4,000 a month.
Depending on the level of care, right?
Although I would say that, but if you get to the level of care where you need a skilled facility, which is more expensive,
Fredonia one? You're
moving on. But if you're a private pay at the county home, because of the level of care they offer, it's even more than what you're talking about.
Right, because I know our local one is, I believe, around $6,000 now.
Right. So
a month.
Yes.
Oh yeah. So we do need to provide. Now, it's my understanding that if the sale of the county home goes through, that they have guaranteed that there will be Medicaid beds available, that the business structure, and again, you look at some of your other facilities, again, right here, in Westfield, I was going to say right here in Mayville, you got and they have Medicaid beds that are available. So some facilities have both private pay and Medicaid beds. I think it is important, if a private entity takes over the county home, that we keep those Medicaid beds available, that we keep those beds available.
Well, I agree with you.
So that's more important.
But unfortunately, you're talking 80% Medicaid at the county home versus maybe 2% or 10% at the most at a private facility. That's a hell of a difference.
No question. So we need to keep that.
I don't trust their promises anymore.
Well,
you may promise it right now, and then you may sell it to your uncle, which means somebody else owns it, and they don't have to go with that promise.
You sell it to Ira, right?
Pardon?
Sell it to Ira.
There you go. He's not. Yeah, he's obviously not buying.
He's out of the picture.
He's out.
But if I bought it, I could sell it to him.
Well, I do believe that, and again, we've Greg Edwards is our county executive. He's been we've talked glowingly about the things he's done while he's been in. I think he's done a great job. He's a good guy. So I don't think he's going to sell the seniors down the river. I didn't
mean he would sell them down, but you don't know who's going to buy that.
Well,
and I just don't trust people and their promises anymore because so many have been broken.
That's a great statement. Although our county legislature has been that's why the last sale didn't go through, is they didn't like the buyer. Now, whether I agree or disagree with that statement, that was essentially their reasoning. So I'm going to trust, God willing, that
who are you going to trust?
I'm going to trust our county legislator, our county executive. These guys are vetting it hard. They're working hard to make sure that not only is the sale right, but are the terms and conditions. So I'm expecting, if it goes through, that it's going to be heavily conditioned, both that with who the buyer is and what they're offering, but also some of those commitments. And it's my understanding there's a 10-year commitment both to the employees of the county home as well as the residents, that they're going to keep the model, if not exact similar, and hopefully they'll expand it, and some private money will be able to expand that.
Not the Medicaid, though, unfortunately. Okay, caller, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Does that help a little bit?
Yes, it does. Yes,
well, you're talking to the master here. He knows his business.
Thank you very much.
He's been involved in this kind of thing a long time.
All right. Bye-bye.
Yeah, that's, again, I keep hearing what sounds to me like double talk. Oh, we'll keep the Medicaid bed. Not 80% they won't. You can bet your bottom dollar on that.
Well, again,
they'll go right back to what the other ones do. They have maybe 10% Medicaid, which they're not allowed to increase.
I guess it comes, again, going back to philosophical, if it is the government's, which by the way I believe it is it the government's role to provide for seniors who can't provide for themselves? I believe that is their role. But how do they do that? Is it more efficient to do it through publicly owned facilities, or is it more efficient to do it by funding the seniors in privately run facilities? Again, I'm a big, public-private. If there's a private entity that can run a facility, or a service or anything like that. I believe that they're going to find, I'm a capitalist guy. I believe they're going to find the most efficient way to run it and still give the service that they need to give. What we need to do is see increased funding to those Medicaid beds so that they can compete with private care, so that now all of a sudden, if I'm a developer, I'm looking to develop a combined facility or a Medicaid facility because it makes sense.
Okay, I have a feeling that in many cases the best value for your care is out of state. They say a lot of New York State Medicaid money is being sent out of state, Erie, for places, down in Pennsylvania, other places, because the costs are so high in New York State.
Well, and part, with certain things in New York State, one of the reasons that the costs are high is that the standards are high. Mm-hmm. I know we just went through a state audit at Fredonia Place and did very well, but that's only because we take, you have extra staff and extra care to make sure that you're providing the kind of care that New York State expects, whether it's, education or health care or senior care. The New York State, the level that they expect and that they mandate is at the high end of the country's spectrum. Again, that's why it costs so much. I'm not sure if I think some of those mandates need to be relaxed so that the market can decide what's good care. What's good, for your mom and dad when they're in a facility. You can tell if they're getting quality care or you can tell if they're not, and that word's going to spread real quick, and that's going to allow where you place, where the next person places their mom and dad. So I do think that it's about allowing the market to make it work.
You're a true capitalist at heart.
Well, yeah, I'm a.
What happened to your thumb?
Hit myself with a hammer doing a little work.
God
doing a little
help you.
work, sure. You got to do the maintenance
When
too.
you see somebody with a black thumb, you wonder what happened there.
Oh yeah.
Okay, Ed Krauza, Greg. I don't want to keep calling you Ed, but your name is Greg, right? There's
Greg.
no Ed in there.
There's no Ed, no Frank J, no anything like that. It's just Greg.
Greg Krauza, talking on about senior care. He is a community developer over at or community something, not developer.
Community builder.
Over at, it's so hard to remember all these detailed differences, the nuances of titles.
I hear you, and we try to use titles, and I think most businesses use titles to try to describe what their folks do.
Yeah.
But it is, whether it's like it has my position at the Fredonia Place or the Chamber of Commerce, it's all about community building. So
what do you do for the Chamber of Commerce exactly?
My two primary functions, at the Chamber,
Chautauqua County Chamber.
Chautauqua County Chamber, and we're a pretty lean machine. So we wear a lot of different hats. Mm-hmm. My two primary functions, though, are to work with the different community chambers throughout the county and make sure that we're giving the kind of service to our member businesses, to try to drive some foot traffic in and help them increase sales and reduce costs. My second function, which may be my primary, I guess, as we talk about the two, is the health insurance program. And we just spent a year, besides offering a health insurance program, we also spent the last year educating our small businesses on the Affordable Care Act and the effects it'll have on them. And there's a lot of confusion out there, and it's starting to clear up as we start to see programs and rates come in on what the New York State exchange is. And then obviously the Chamber of Commerce for forever, historically, has been a provider of health insurance, and that's throughout the state. In fact, right now we're teaming up with several chambers, about 7 chambers throughout the state, the larger chambers, in order to have more clout going into the New York State exchange as well as the private exchanges. Health insurance is a critical issue.
Scandalous. It's horrible.
A critical issue for small businesses, and so they need help in finding quality coverage and knowing what they need or how to obtain it. And
Obamacare helping, do you think?
I think that 5 years from now we're going to look back at the ACA and we're going to say this was a good thing. It drove down costs. The overall cost of health insurance, the education that's going to come out of it. We are a very unhealthy society, and part of our healthcare crisis is the fact that we are that unhealthy society. And there's all sorts of other issues that go along with that. But I think that 5 years from now, we're going to look back on the Affordable Care Act and say that was a good thing. It helped to stabilize cost. It helped to make obtaining care easier and understanding care easier. The problem is, between now and 5 years from now, it is a crazy, very difficult, huge document, so many nuances, so much misinformation.
Biggest problem, of course, is the fact that this is the only country in the world that pays insurance companies about a third of the total cost for their profits and their salaries to give us health care.
Well, that's
outrageous.
One of the tenets of the ACA, of the Affordable Care Act, and New York State has jumped on that, is the limiting the administrative costs. So now they're doing medical loss ratios, and roughly 80%. Let's use 80%. If 80% of your dollar, if 80 cents out of every dollar that you pay for health care isn't used to provide service, then they've got to rebate you. So companies, there's that having a third is gone now, and that used to be, again, I agree, scandalous. When we see top executives making millions and millions of dollars in a not-for-profit, it starts to get,
Well, it's all craziness.
Yeah.
It's craziness. The only country in the world is doing this. Of course,
well, we're also the only country in the world, the only industrialized country that doesn't provide a nationalized health care.
That's what I'm saying. Mainly because they're paying off Congress. They give them billions every year. Billions.
Yeah, I want to know why Congress, don't get me started on that, Reed, because I want to know why Congress doesn't. Everybody in the whole country has a mandate through the ACA to get insurance, except Congress.
Yeah.
They're the only ones exempt. Same with Social Security.
For life, I might add. For life.
Right. So,
they don't worry about
we talked about Thomas Jefferson earlier, and I'll bring, when they wrote the Constitution, those were all volunteers. Those people left their farms, they left their law practices, they left their, whatever they did, their blacksmiths.
They didn't get paid.
They didn't get paid. That's why we had term limits. We didn't need term limits then. It was a de facto term limit because I had to, I got to go back and run my business,
Right.
So it was wonderful, and we had a healthy turnover, and we had people who cared that were in there. Now, you could make the argument that it was only the gilded elite that could afford to do that, but it isn't any different now. If you don't have $1 million, you can't run for Congress. So it is
We're out of here.
Oh.
Sorry to break off.
No.
30 seconds to finish up. Go ahead.
Oh, my gosh. Well, it's, one of the things we didn't Assisted Living Week throughout Chautauqua County, throughout the United States. Assisted Living Week, September 9th to 14th. We're going to have some fun stuff at Fredonia Place. We're going to have an open house and a mixer that we'd like to get people into. We're going to have a baking contest, and then the Alzheimer's Walk right here in Chautauqua at Chautauqua Institute, right in town, is September 7th. Donate. Find somebody that's walking. Give them $5, $10 somewhere. Help us out so that
walk yourself.
And we'll definitely be there. Yeah.
Yourself. Okay. I thank you, Greg Krauza. If somebody wanted to get in touch with you, give them a phone number where they could actually contact you.
679-2250.
679-2250, 716 number. If you want to talk to Greg, and he'll be happy to fill in for you if you have any further questions. Right?
Please, yes.
Thank you. Will you come back again sometime?
Love to.
We
Thank you.
talk about this.
We didn't even get to talk about the Bills.
Go Bills. All right, Chuck Kelsey, Devin Taylor, Chris Burt, Randy Burt, Chris Remaker, Jeff Zook, Don Zenz, John Hamels. I want to thank all you folks for making this show possible, and other people. I want to thank the callers. Last caller, we didn't get to you. I'm sorry, but you can call in. You've got the number to call. What's the number again?
679-2250.
There you go. You can get your question answered there. I want to thank everybody for being with us. I want to tell people it's going to be a wonderful weekend. Get out there, go camping, dance in the sunshine, dive in the water, have a great time in the summer. This is a wonderful place to spend your summer, Chautauqua County. May all that is proud and true and noble abide with you. I'm Reed Powers.